The next part of our unit, we're going to be looking at financial applications. Now, simple interest you don't really see too much nowadays, but it is sometimes used for certain loans or investments. Now, the idea of simple interest is you earn interest only on the original amount invested. That's really the key about simple interests. Now, we call the original amount invested the principal. Now, if you invest $500 at a simple interest rate of 5%, how much interest would we earn? We're going to figure this out in the first year, the second year, and then the third year. We're going to be using a capital I for the amount of interest that we earn. So in the first year, we take the $500 and we're earning 5%. So I multiply by 0.05, and that will be an amount of $25. So after 1 year has gone by, $25 will be added to your account. Or if it's a loan, you're going to be charged $25. Now, what's going to happen in the second year? Well, remember that you're only earning interest on the original amount. So that $25 that you just earned or were charged doesn't really matter at all. So it's still only the original $500. And again, 5% of that is $25. Now, at this point in total, you would actually have $550 in this account. However, because it's simple interest, you're only charged on that principal amount. So in the third year, well, you can probably guess what's going to happen. So just very quickly, 500, again, only that 500 is being used. You're charged another $25, or you earn another $25. So essentially, the amount of interest earned or charged is the same every year because the interest only applies to the original amount. In this case, it only applied to the $500. So in this previous situation, you were earning $25 every single year. So if we were to say that 6 or 7 years have gone by, we can simply multiply the interest earned each year by the number of years. And that gives us our formula for simple interest. So capital I is for the interest to be paid or charged. P is for the principal, the original amount of money. R is the interest rate in decimal form. Now that P times R, that's the calculation I was doing before, the principal times the interest rate. But now we'll be multiplying by T, which is the length of time in years. And that will give us the total interest earned during that time. So for this example here, we want to calculate the simple interest earned on $3,000 at 6% for 2 years. Then calculate the total value of the investment. So $3,000, this is going to represent our principal amount, the amount that we're starting with. Now R is the interest rate. Now it's 6%, but we write it as a decimal, 0.06. And T is our time in years, which is 2. So I can calculate the amount of interest earned. So 3,000 times 0.06 times 2. And this will give me $360. Now, this is only the amount of interest, or the amount that will be added to the account. If we want to figure out the total value now of the investment, we're going to be using, later on in the unit as well, a capital A for the total value, or amount. So the total amount that you actually have is your $3,000 principal plus the $360 you just earned. So in total, you will have $3,360. That's our final answer. Now, just like with sequences and series, we may not necessarily be just figuring out what the interest is, so we might have to use that equation in different ways. So Derek invested $1,500 for 42 months and earned $270 interest. What was the annual interest rate? So for this, I'm always going to list all my relevant information on the side. Now, if he invested $1,500, that is his principal. Now, for 42 months, 42 months is the amount of time, but our variable t for this equation has to be in years. Okay, very important that you do that. So 42 divided by 12, our time in years will be 3.5 or 3.5. Okay, so try to keep that time amount exact. 42 divided by 12 is exactly 3.5 years. Now, the last part of this question, he earned $270 interest. This actually means that I is $270. What we want to figure out is the annual interest rate, which is R. So I'm going to substitute everything that I know into the equation. 270 is my I value, equals 1,500 principal times R times T, which is 3.5. So now I want to solve this equation. And what I can do, I can simplify the right-hand side a little bit by multiplying 1,500 times 3.5 is 5,250 times R is equal to 270. And then I can simply divide both sides by that amount. So R is equal to, now I'm going to round this to 2 decimal places, 0.05 approximately. Now, the annual interest rate, typically we do want to state our interest rates as percentages. So I'm going to have a therefore statement here. So therefore, the annual interest rate is about 5%. Now, the last question is going to be a little bit different. Justine lent Heather $600 at an interest rate of 8.5%. Heather repaid a total of $663.75 to Justine. What was the time period of this loan? Now, when you borrow money, you pay back the principal amount, which is how much you actually borrowed, but then you're charged interest. So what you'll notice here, she lent Heather $600. This is the principal amount. So that's how much Heather actually got. But when Heather pays back the money, she has to pay that $600 plus the interest that she earned along the way. So the amount that she paid back, that's actually the total amount, $663.75. Now, we're going to have to use this somehow to figure out one part of our equation. But what else do we have here? The interest rate is 8.5%. So R is 0.085. And what we want to figure out is T. Well, here's the thing. I now have 2 unknown values in my equation because I don't know I, the interest, and I don't know T, the time. Well, we can actually use this value right here to figure out the amount of interest. So the amount of interest is that 663.75 minus the principal that was originally borrowed. So she was charged an additional $63.75. That is the interest that she was charged. So I can put that interest into the equation along with the principal, the rate, and we will be solving this time for the time. Now, just like last time, I'm going to simplify the right-hand side. So 600 times 0.085 is 51. So 51 times T is equal to $63.75. Divide by 51, and we get T is equal to 1.25 years. Now, I'm going to actually write in years this time, so 1.25 years. And again, for a concluding statement, typically we wouldn't say 1.25 years. We would probably state it in years and then months. So the time period would be 1 year and now you have to think how many months is 0.25 years or a quarter of a year. That would be 3 months. So the time period in total is 1 year and 3 months. And she was charged $63.75 in simple interest during that time.